Next up, please help me welcome Olivier Caza-Lapointe, Head of Investor Relations North America for Patriot Battery Metals. Patriot is a leading North American lithium exploration and development company, advancing the world-class Saskatchewan project in Quebec to support the growing demand for EV transition metals. Please put your hands together for Olivier.
Bonjour, bon matin, et merci d'être ici pour la conférence Mining in the North. Mon nom est Olivier Caza-Lapointe, je fais les relations investisseurs pour Patriot. We were here last year with Ken Brinson, our CEO, presenting for Patriot. So I figured I'd do a quick recap of the last 12 months and how the progress at the Saskatchewan Property project went for Patriot. In those events, there's actually two MRE updates that we've done in the last 12 months. We put out a PEA, and we've discovered a couple of very interesting critical and strategic metals at the property in scales that are extremely rare. And finally, I want to touch on the different demand drivers for the lithium products, which we believe that the market is severely underestimating right now. So how were the last 12 months? Extremely busy. I'll try to go in a chronological order to help ourselves navigate here. In August of 2024, we put out the first of the two referenced MRE updates for the last 12 months. This fed into a PEA release that we released a couple of weeks after that. The PEA showcased how cost competitive Saskatchewan would be in a production setting, with very low all-in sustaining costs below $600. 24-year mine life, so a really big, long life of mine project. 800,000 tons of spodumene a year, which at the time of production later this decade would make it the fourth largest lithium mine in the world. We would do a hybrid phased approach, so it'll be two-step, phase one of 400,000 tons, and a second phase, the first phase open pit, second phase underground for another 400,000 tons, using the cash flow from the first phase to build the second one. The milestone on the PEA was really important because this led to a marquee deal for the lithium industry in December of 2024, a $69 million investment from Volkswagen for 9.9% of the shares of Patriot. The deal was done at a 65% premium to the 30-day VWAP for Patriot. The offtake on that deal is for their wholly owned subsidiary called PowerCo. PowerCo aims to fulfill around 200 gigawatt hour of battery capacity out of the 450 that Volkswagen plans to need. They're doing that through 3 different plants, and one of them is actually going to be built in Canada, just southwest of Toronto, in an area called St. Thomas. That facility will be for 90 gigawatt hour of battery capacity. It's huge. It's going to be one of the biggest in the world. That facility would require the full Saskatchewan project at full tilt production of 800,000 tons a year. So by doing the offtake agreement with us of 100,000 tons a year, it's a small part of what they need, but it's also a small part of what our project will be able to produce eventually. 12.5% of our full production, or 25% of our phase one. Importantly also, this agreement came with an MOU, which looks at 2 main important things. The first one being trying to solve for the downstream of the lithium industry in North America and Europe, and collaborate on that front. The second one As you know, funding mining operations are not easy. So the second one looks at two different funding mechanisms in exchange for more material at FID. So those are two important aspects of the deal with Volkswagen. And around the same time that we announced that deal, we wrapped up a very large drilling program, exploration program in 2024. Actually, probably one of the largest in Canadian mining history, over 130,000 meters of drilling at the property, which, happily for us, confirmed that Saskatchewan is still a globally relevant project. In fact, it's the largest in the Americas, 8th largest in the world. And this new resource will feed into the feasibility study that we plan to announce by the end of Q3 this year, calendar Q3. So why did Volkswagen choose Patriot for their first mining investment ever? Well, because when you have a large resource, you have visibility into a long mine life. We have huge crystal sizes, which can lead us to have a DMS-only operation, as highlighted in the PEA, which means lower CapEx, much faster ramp-up time, and which just means more profitably going forward for the company. There's pockets of Saskatchewan in the Nova Zone specifically, which we'll capture via underground operation, which have over 2% grades, which is basically unheard of in the industry, except with the granddaddy of it all, the Greenbushes mine in Australia. And high grades mean, again, a better margin on the operations, which means resilience through the different lithium commodity cycles that we're seeing. The other thing that can help with that is the presence of very critical and strategic metals at the property, which we've discovered and announced in the last few weeks. The first one being cesium. So cesium is a bit of a more opaque market, not as well known by most investors. However, what we believe that what we found at Saskatchewan is, again, similar to the lithium, a scale that is extremely rare in the industry. One of the last few mines, and there's about 3 of them that are well known to have operated in the last 20 years, one of them being Canada and Tenco, Bikita in Zimbabwe, and Sinclair Mine in Australia. Sinclair mined 18,000 tons of product, that 8% grade. The deposit at Sinclair, which was one of the 3 mines in the last 20 years that operated in any significant way, was about 50 meters by 50 meters with maybe 5 meters of thickness. What we've discovered here is around 600 by 400 in one part of CV13 and 200 by 80, both of them between 5 to 10 meters of thickness. So orders of magnitude larger than what has been found. And the great thing about cesium is that it currently trades for around $2,500 US an ounce, compared to just over $600 a ton for lithium. We've also confirmed that we have the 4th largest tantalum deposit in the world. Again, high grade compared to peers, and with a commodity that's up 25% year to date, due to having 60% of the production in the Kivu regions, so DRC area. And if you had Brazil, was 75% of the global supplier. So having a North American / European, potential markets for our product would be very interesting. Tantalum trades for around $100 and $105 a pound right now, so over $200,000 a ton. I want to briefly touch on the actual lithium demand market, because if you just look at most of the headlines, you'd think EVs are a thing of the past and a 2022 thing, and demand would be falling off a cliff. If you just take a few minutes and look at the hard data, what we're seeing here is that EV sales are actually doing very, very well. In fact, they were up 24%, 25% in 2024. And this year, with the data that we have, 4 months, into 2025, we're not seeing a slowing demand globally. We're actually seeing a reacceleration at 29% growth year to date after 4 months of data. And that's just on the units itself. Then you need to account that hybrids, are getting bigger batteries, and EVs in general are getting bigger batteries, so the content per car is actually going up. And this is the big one. This is probably the one that the Western analysts are missing a bit in their numbers if you extrapolate over the next 5 or 10 years. Battery energy storage systems, BESS for short, are getting much cheaper and are getting put into projects now with longer duration, going from 1.5 to 2 hours to now 3 or 4 or 5 hours, which means a lot more lithium demand. They're almost exclusively LFP cells, thanks to China doing its thing and absolutely destroying the cost angle of putting these systems in. Battery cells are down on a per kilowatt basis in terms of pricing, down over 50% in the last 18 months. This is inspiring demand of lithium batteries, and they're making their way into all sorts of systems globally. If you look at the renewable demand, especially solar, and you extrapolate for duration for the batteries to perfectly tie in with these systems to offer 24-hour continuous electricity from a renewable source, this is what is going to shock the market in the next 5 years in terms of demand. So keep an eye on those demand numbers for BESS, as they will likely be the asymmetry of information for you as investors. Lastly, I want to briefly touch on our management team, which will be the key for us to go from pure exploration to development into a producing assets in the next few years. Leading our team, because a great project is nothing without a great team. Ken Brinston, our CEO, used to be our chairman. Ken was the builder of Pilbara Minerals in Australia, which went from a $250 million market cap company to, at the peak, 15, 16 billion, was buried in Qantas Airways. Still today, 5-6 billion market cap, net cash position of $1 billion, second biggest mine in the world of lithium, incredible visionary for the industry. Ken brought along Alex Eastwood, which was our executive vice president commercial, which helped obviously build the Volkswagen agreement. Natasha Garut, Montreal local, CFO, tons of experience with the different folks in the government of Quebec, Investissement Québec, Caza-Lapointe, when she was CFO of Champion Iron Ore. And we also have Frédéric Mercier-Langevin, who joined us a few months ago. Frédéric is long-time industry vet, mining industry, 18 years at Agnico, more recently COO of West Dome, open pit, underground experience, mining in the north, signed some IB agreements. So Frédéric is the perfect candidate to take us here throughout the evolution of this company towards a producing asset. Frédéric is here with me today and tomorrow taking meetings with us. So we're happy to introduce Frédéric to you. Overall, I want to say that, just to wrap things up, I think when you combine the globally relevant deposit that we have, the incredible team leading the charge, and the potential blue sky coming up, which we'll discover on the economic side post the feasibility study that we'll do in Q3, which will focus on lithium. But if we keep an eye out on the cesium, the tantalum upside, those strategic and critical metals are going to be value add for us at some point. And you combine that with the demand angle of lithium raw materials via EVs or BESS, I think we believe the setup for Patriot going forward is extremely strong. Thank you for your time, and I wish you a great conference. Thank you very much.